It is Wednesday, the 17th of July. Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan, and thanks very much for joining us. We've got low pressure out of the Tasman Sea. It's going to fall apart over the next couple of days, but then a new storm could form around the northern to northeastern side of the North Island, coming out of the subtropics. It's short-lived, but it does bring some risks. So let's take a look and see what is going on. This is the air pressure map. Had someone comment the other day, this map makes no sense to me. I thought yellow and blue or purple were sort of rain, and it's confusing. So this is low pressure. And the reason I show you this is to show you just how large this zone of low pressure actually is. It's got a number of centers inside it, and high pressure in the bright yellow and the whiter shading is all around it. That basically means that without a proper southerly coming into it out of the Southern Ocean, just a little bit of a local one here, this low in the Tasman is going to fall apart. But as it does so over the next 48 hours, a new spin-off low will form right on the edge of the jet stream, which is high up in the atmosphere, and right on the edge of the subtropics. It's in a perfect place, as the one was a couple of weeks ago that hit Gisborne and East Cape. This one could also do a similar kind of thing, deepen rapidly and have the same strength as a Category 1 or 2 tropical cyclone. The air pressure could get down to 970 hectopascals. So we'll be watching that closely, and that's why we're showing you this large pool of low pressure, because it is helpful to understand why we're getting rain and why maybe the forecast is a little bit messy over the next few days ahead. So that map we just showed you was 6 o'clock tonight. This is 9 o'clock tonight, showing this large pool of low pressure, rain and showers around the North Island. Let me animate the next 48 hours and you'll see that falling apart and this new low forming up here in the subtropics. Doesn't look very big here on Friday night, but this is some heavy rain coming into it, and it's only just getting started because it really peaks in strength 24 hours later, or maybe 18 hours later into Saturday afternoon. That's when we expect this to be at its strongest as it tracks southeast past the North Island. The good news is it's not going to linger. So it's in a bit of a hurry, so that's some good news. So this is how we looked. Let's take it back now to lunchtime Thursday, and as you can see around the middle of the day, not very much in the way of rain around, but it's all around us. So we've got the pale blue here means just the risk of a few showers or drizzle patches, perhaps a little bit more coming in here for parts of coastal and northern Canterbury, and a few showers later on at the top of the country and maybe over on the west coast. Otherwise, it's a dry day, which means with the light winds, you can see especially around the North Island, foggy areas and low cloud could be an issue, but it's not an overly cold day. Not very often you get a cloudy day in the middle of winter and it gets up to 18 degrees, but it does happen from time to time, especially when you've got a northwesterly flow coming into the top of the country. Once again, central areas, no change in your temperatures, and the southern end of the country, maybe a couple of degrees added now to your daytime highs. Here we are lunchtime Friday, so the big low in the Tasman basically falling apart now, just some leftovers down here, and that drives in some rain. This is the rain band here from that system coming through for the west coast and Nelson, and then maybe a few patchy rain showers coming in later on for the North Island. Then you've got this other system up here, and all of the rain you see around that is coming out of that source there. So the airflows around Samoa and Fiji feeding straight into that low. So it's got a bit of energy in it. And as it drops further down with the colder weather and colder airflows, that's why that will deepen rapidly and could meet the same status as a Category 1 or 2 tropical cyclone with very low air pressure. And this is what we're talking about. Noon Saturday, this is the GFS model showing 981, and I've seen other modelling taking it down to 971, 972 as we go through Saturday afternoon. That's very low air pressure, and that means the lower the air pressure goes, the more likely you are to see rain, so heavy rain here, and severe gales, which are brushing just the very northeastern corner and maybe Great Barrier Island and Coromandel Peninsula. But of course, this is just one model out of the USA. So let's compare that with the other big global model from Europe. And very similar now. They're a lot more aligned than they were even just yesterday. So we're seeing some sort of pattern, and it looks as though it's going to come down very quickly and brush the corner here. It could move around. If it drops a little further south, suddenly you're seeing severe weather come into a whole lot of populated places. If it remains here or even moves a little offshore, we won't even know it really existed. So it's a funny system where we've sort of got to take it seriously, but it may or may not cause us problems. And by the way, for those who complain, why are you using American modelling and European modelling? Because NIWA, who we all tax fund, doesn't give us anything. They take our tax money and then they sell it off to corporations. We can't afford it, we're a small business. So we tax fund what I think is something utterly pointless. Anyway, let's get off the politics, go back to the weather. Here is Sunday's setup, and you can see that storm is now quite a long way out to the east, so it's fallen apart, or at least it's had some of its energy taken over here to another system, so it's very messy, and that's what we've been saying for the last few days. This is going to be a complicated forecast as each low pressure centre sort of steals energy off each other, and they sort of struggle to really get going. So this system here hopefully doesn't cause too many problems. If it clears up like this, worth keeping an eye on though, and then of course more rain and showers coming through on Sunday. So next week, Monday kicks off with these lows merging into a new one around the Chatham Islands, wet weather coming in for the eastern South Island and for the western side of the North Island. Otherwise, things are actually kind of breaking apart from that low pressure zone, and it finally does weaken further next week. But because it's parked out here to the east, blocked by this high pressure zone, it's still going to be affecting New Zealand. And if you're looking for that big, beautiful high to roll back in again and bring us sunny weather, it's not probably going to happen for a while. You might have to go off to Australia to get it, because we pretty much have low pressure dominating our weather patterns now for probably the next couple of weeks at least. So we are truly in the winter moment right now. The stratospheric warming happening around Antarctica is also making the Southern Ocean weather systems much more stormy. So that's why we're seeing more in the way of unsettled weather. But to be honest with you, if you were to define what is normal weather in New Zealand at this time of the year, I would say a lot of this is. It's just a bit warmer than we're used to by a couple of degrees. Here is the current forecast rainfall right through till Monday of next week from today. Heaviest falls in that northeastern corner where you're talking about 80 to possibly 200 millimetres at the tops of the ranges. This is early days still though, and it might move around. As I say, it could go further offshore or further inland, worth keeping an eye on. That is all from me. Lots to cover, so we're back again tomorrow, Thursday, and we'll be having more detail on what is likely to happen this weekend and if there is any severe weather likely for that eastern side of the North Island. We'll see you tomorrow.